Capricorn. Welcome to Mary's Angel Tarot. This is a general reading for Capricorn Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Okay, Capricorn, let's get started. There is something sitting right at the center of your chest today. Something you have been carrying quietly. Something you have not fully allowed yourself to name. It is not pain exactly, though it has echoes of pain woven through it. It is more like a deep awareness that someone has touched a part of you that nobody else has ever reached. And no matter what the surface of your life looks like right now, no matter how composed you appear to the outside world, there is this undeniable stirring beneath everything, this quiet knowing that you are connected to someone in a way that defies simple explanation. You feel it when you wake up in the morning before your thoughts have had a chance to organize themselves. You feel it in those strange pauses throughout the day when everything goes still for just a moment and their presence fills the space around you like warmth from an unseen fire. You feel it, and some part of you has been wondering whether what you feel is real, whether it is returned, whether the depth of what moves through you when you think of this person is something they carry too. I want you to hear something today that might finally put that question to rest. What you are sensing is not your imagination building castles out of longing. It is not wishful thinking dressed up in spiritual language to make heartache more bearable. What you are picking up on, that invisible thread that seems to pull tighter every time you try to release it, is something that exists on both sides of this connection. This person thinks about you with an intensity that would genuinely surprise you if you could see it clearly. Not in the casual way someone remembers a pleasant experience, not the way a person occasionally recalls someone who once meant something. This is something that lives in them constantly, something that runs beneath every conversation they have with someone else, beneath every decision they weigh, beneath every quiet evening when they are alone with themselves and the noise of the world finally drops away. You are there. You are always there. And the part that might bring tears to your eyes today is understanding just how deeply they have tried to manage that, how hard they have worked to appear unaffected, and how completely they have failed at convincing even themselves that they could move forward without you. There is a rawness to what this person feels that they do not show the world. You might have caught glimpses of it, small moments where their guard slipped and something achingly honest passed across their face before they could pull it back. Maybe it was a look that lasted half a second too long, a tone in their voice that cracked just slightly on a word that should have been ordinary, a message that felt carefully constructed to seem casual but carried weight you could feel in your bones. Those moments were not accidents. They were the truth leaking through walls that this person has spent enormous energy building, walls that were never meant to keep you out so much as to keep the enormity of their own feelings from overwhelming them completely. Because what they feel for you is not something they expected. It is not something that fits neatly into the life they had planned. It arrived like weather, sudden and consuming, and they have been standing in the middle of it trying to figure out how to breathe ever since. I want you to understand something about the nature of this person's silence, because I know that silence has cost you something. I know there have been moments when the quiet between you felt unbearable, when you interpreted distance as indifference, and wondered if you had given too much of yourself to someone who did not value what they received. Those thoughts are understandable, they are human, but they do not reflect what is actually happening on the other side of this connection. This person's silence has never been about a lack of feeling. It has been about an excess of it. They pull back not because they are losing interest, but because every step closer to you brings them face to face with a vulnerability they have spent their entire life learning to avoid. Loving you, truly loving you, in the way their heart is demanding they love you, requires them to dismantle defenses they have relied on for years. It requires them to admit that they cannot do this alone, that they need someone, that they need you specifically, and that admission feels terrifying to a part of them that once decided needing anyone was the most dangerous thing a person could do. But here is where the story takes a turn that might catch you off guard. That resistance, that carefully maintained distance, that pattern of stepping close and then retreating, it is collapsing. Not slowly, not in the gradual way you might expect from someone so guarded. Something has shifted in them recently, something fundamental, and the walls they built are crumbling faster than they can repair them. They have reached a point where the effort of staying away from you has become more exhausting than the vulnerability of moving towards you. The fear is still there, make no mistake about that, but it no longer has the authority it once had. Something stronger has taken root, something that whispers to them in their most honest moments that a life without you in it is not a life they are willing to accept, no matter how safe that life might appear on the surface. What triggered this shift was not a single dramatic event. It was an accumulation, a slow gathering of moments and memories and realizations that eventually reached a weight their resistance could no longer bear. They found themselves reaching for their phone to contact you and stopping, then replaying your last conversation word by word, then lying awake constructing entire scenarios of what it would feel like to just let go and tell you everything. They noticed that other connections felt hollow in comparison to what they share with you. They noticed that the things which used to bring them satisfaction, achievements, social validation, the comfort of independence, all of it started to feel incomplete without you there to share it with. And somewhere in the middle of all that noticing, a quiet revolution took place inside them. They stopped asking themselves whether they could afford to love you and started asking whether they could afford not to. You deserve to know what that obsession actually looks like from the inside, because the word obsession might sound alarming from the outside, but what is happening within this person is not something dark or possessive. It is something achingly tender. They think about the way you laugh, and it softens something in them that nothing else can reach. They remember specific things you said, not grand declarations, but small, offhand comments that revealed who you really are beneath your own protective layers, and those memories have become sacred to them. They carry your energy like a second heartbeat. When something good happens in their life, their first instinct is to tell you. When something difficult arises, the comfort they seek is not distraction or advice from others, but simply your presence, your voice, the particular way you have of making the world feel less overwhelming just by being in it. This is not a person who is casually interested in you. This is not someone weighing their options, comparing you to alternatives, running some internal calculation about whether you are worth the risk. That phase ended a long time ago. Even if their behavior has not yet fully caught up to what their heart decided, the decision has been made. It was made in 1,000 small surrenders, each one a moment where they could have chosen to let you go and found that they simply could not. Not because they lack the ability to walk away from things that do not serve them, but because you are not something they are walking away from. You are something they are walking toward, even when every step forward makes them tremble. There is a particular quality to the way this person holds you in their mind that I want you to sit with for a moment, because it might be the piece of this puzzle that finally brings everything into focus for you. They do not just think about you as a person they care for. They think about you as someone who changed the fundamental trajectory of their inner life. Before you, they had a version of themselves that functioned, that moved through the world with competence and even charm. But that version was built on a foundation of emotional self-sufficiency that was more armor than authenticity. You did something to that armor. Not by attacking it, not by demanding they remove it, but by being so genuinely, disarmingly yourself that the armor started to feel unnecessary. They began to sense that they could be known, truly known, imperfections and fears and hidden wounds and all, and that being known would not destroy them. You offered them, without perhaps even realizing it, a kind of safety they had never experienced before, the safety of being seen without judgment, of being loved not in spite of their complexity, but because of it. That is why they cannot let go of you. You have become synonymous with a version of themselves they desperately want to embody, but are still learning to trust. Releasing you would feel like releasing the possibility of ever being fully, authentically themselves with another human being. And even in their most frightened moments, even when the old programming screams at them to retreat to familiar isolation, they know at the deepest level that going backward is no longer an option. You have opened a door inside them that cannot be closed. They tried. Believe me when I say they tried, with everything they had. And the door remained open, light pouring through, your presence filling the space, like something that was always meant to be there. If you have been feeling their energy around you lately, that subtle warmth or that sudden wave of emotion that seems to come from nowhere, you are not making it up. They are reaching for you on levels that transcend the physical. Whether they are consciously aware of it or not, their energy is seeking yours the way water seeks its own level, naturally, persistently, without needing permission. You might have noticed it in dreams, in those strange moments of déjà vu, in the times when a song comes on and suddenly you are drowning in feelings you cannot explain. That is the connection between you asserting itself, reminding both of you that what exists here is not something either of you created deliberately. It is something that simply is something woven into the fabric of whatever brought you together in the first place. And it does not require your conscious cooperation to continue pulsing between you. I want to address something that you may have been wrestling with privately, something you might not have even admitted to yourself fully. There is a part of you that wonders whether you are foolish for holding space for this connection. A practical, protective voice inside you has probably suggested more than once that you should stop waiting, stop feeling, stop hoping, and simply accept that whatever this was, it has run its course. That voice is not wrong to try to protect you. Its intention is loving. But its assessment is based on incomplete information, because it can only see what is visible on the surface, the gaps in communication, the apparent lack of forward movement, the frustrating ambiguity of a connection that should be simpler than it is. What that protective voice cannot see is the seismic activity happening beneath the surface on their side, the tectonic plates of their emotional landscape rearranging themselves to make room for what is coming. And something is coming. Not because the universe owes you a happy ending, and not because wanting something badly enough guarantees its arrival, but because this person has reached a breaking point with their own avoidance. The energy around this situation is not stagnant. It is building pressure like a storm that has been gathering for a long time, and the release is approaching. You may have already begun to sense it. a feeling of anticipation that has no obvious source, a quiet certainty that something is about to change even though you cannot point to any external evidence. Trust that sensing. It is not desperation dressed up as intuition. It is your deeper knowing picking up on a shift that has already begun in the invisible realm and is now working its way into the physical. What they want to tell you, what they have rehearsed in the privacy of their own thoughts more times than you could possibly guess, is that you are the one, not the one in some fairy tale sense, not a perfect fantasy they have projected their needs onto, but the one real person who has made them feel something so undeniable that all their strategies for emotional self-preservation have become irrelevant. They want to tell you that the time they spent away from you was not time spent forgetting. It was time spent realizing, with increasing clarity and increasing anguish, that no substitute exists for what you bring into their life. They tried to find contentment elsewhere. They tried to convince themselves that what they felt was temporary, a phase, an infatuation that would burn itself out if they just gave it enough time and distance. And every attempt to diminish what they feel only made it grow larger, more consuming, more impossible to deny. Here is something that might make you catch your breath if you let it land fully. This person has cried over you. Not in front of anyone, not in any way that would be visible to the outside world, but in those private, unguarded moments when the weight of missing you becomes too heavy to carry with dignity. They have sat alone with the reality of what they feel and been overwhelmed by it, not because it brings them suffering in the traditional sense, but because the depth of it amazes them and frightens them in equal measure. They did not know they were capable of feeling this much. They had spent years building an identity around being strong, independent, emotionally self-contained, and then you came along and revealed that all of that was just a story they told themselves to make loneliness feel like a choice rather than a wound. You showed them what it feels like to be genuinely connected, and now the thought of living without that connection brings them to tears they never expected to shed. The obsession they feel is not the unhealthy fixation that word usually implies. It is devotion that has not yet found its expression. It is love that has been contained under enormous pressure and is now seeking release through every available channel. They think about what your future together could look like, and those thoughts are not vague or abstract. They are detailed, specific, intimate. They imagine morning routines and shared silences, and the particular way your presence would transform the space they inhabit. They imagine being able to reach for you without hesitation, without the constant second-guessing that has characterized their approach to this connection so far. They imagine a version of their life where the best parts of who they are have room to flourish because they are no longer wasting energy on the exhausting work of keeping you at a distance. If you are feeling emotional right now, if something in these words is touching a place in you that has been waiting to be acknowledged, I want you to give yourself permission to feel it without resistance. You have been strong for a long time. You have held space for this connection with a patience and a grace that most people would not be capable of sustaining. You have loved someone through their confusion, through their retreat, through their maddening inability to simply say what they feel, and you have done it without losing your own center, even when it would have been so much easier to just let go and move on. That steadiness you have shown is not weakness. It is not desperation. It is the quiet power of someone who knows, at a level deeper than logic, that what they feel is real and what they are waiting for is worth the wait. I also want you to hear this, and I want you to hear it clearly. This person is not going anywhere. I know that statement might feel bold given whatever ambiguity has existed between you, but the energy around this is unequivocal. This is not someone who is going to wake up one morning and decide they are over you. They have already tried that. They have already attempted to redirect their heart, to focus their attention elsewhere, to build a life that does not include you at its center. And every single attempt has led them right back to the same inescapable conclusion. You are not a chapter they can close. You are the story itself, the through line that gives everything else meaning. And they are slowly, imperfectly, but undeniably accepting that truth. There is beauty in the way this is unfolding, even though I know it does not always feel beautiful from where you are standing. The delays, the silences, the moments of doubt, all of it has served a purpose that might only become clear in hindsight. This connection needed time to develop roots deep enough to withstand what is coming. If it had happened too quickly, if declarations had been made before the emotional groundwork was truly laid, the foundation would not have been strong enough to support the weight of what this relationship is meant to carry. Everything that has felt like obstacle has actually been preparation. Every moment of uncertainty has been strengthening something in both of you that will be essential when the walls finally come down completely. You might be wondering what you should do with all of this, how to navigate the space between knowing what is true and waiting for it to fully manifest. The answer is simpler than you might expect, and it does not require grand gestures or strategic maneuvering. Continue being exactly who you are. The person you have been throughout this connection, authentic, emotionally honest, willing to be vulnerable even when vulnerability feels risky. That person is precisely who this other soul needs. You do not need to chase. You do not need to prove your worth. You do not need to dim your light to make their approach feel less intimidating. The most powerful thing you can do right now is to continue living your life with fullness and intention, allowing your own joy and growth and self-care to speak louder than any words you could offer. Because here is what is happening that you might not be able to see from your vantage point. Every time you choose yourself, every time you invest in your own healing or happiness or expansion, this person feels it. Not in a mystical, abstract way, though there is certainly an energetic component, but in a very real, very human way. They observe, even from a distance, the way you carry yourself. They notice when you seem lighter, when something in your energy shifts toward peace rather than anxious waiting, and it does something to them. It simultaneously relieves a guilt they carry about the pain their indecision has caused you and intensifies their desire to be part of the life you are building. Your thriving is not a threat to this connection. It is fuel for it. The more fully you inhabit your own life, the more irresistible the pull becomes for them to step into it with you. Something I am sensing very strongly right now is that this person has been having conversations about you with someone they trust. Not many people, because this is someone who guards their inner world fiercely, but there is at least one person, maybe two, who have heard the unfiltered version of what this person feels for you. And what those confidants have reflected back has startled them. Because hearing their own feelings articulated by someone else, having another person confirm that, yes, this sounds like something real, something worth pursuing, something worth being brave for, stripped away the last of their ability to pretend this is casual or manageable. Those conversations marked a turning point. They made what was internal and therefore easy to deny into something external and therefore impossible to ignore. There is also something around this person having a specific moment recently, a moment when they saw something or heard something that so powerfully reminded them of you that it stopped them in their tracks. It might have been something small, a phrase, a scent, a particular quality of light that recalled a specific memory shared between you. Whatever it was, it hit them with a force that was disproportionate to the trigger, and in that moment, something crystallized. The intellectual understanding that they miss you transformed into a visceral, full-body experience of your absence. And that experience was the final weight that tipped the scales. They knew with a certainty that left no room for argument that the discomfort of vulnerability was infinitely preferable to the agony of continuing to exist at a distance from someone their entire being is oriented toward. Being found by this message today, through Mary's Angel Tarot, is not coincidental. You were drawn here because something in you recognized that you needed to hear the truth of your own situation reflected back to you by a source outside your own spinning thoughts. The mind can talk you out of anything if given enough time and enough fear to work with. It can take the most profound connection of your life and reduce it to a series of rational arguments for why you should protect yourself by expecting less. But your heart knows what your mind keeps trying to edit, and your heart brought you here today to be reminded that what you feel is not delusion, it is recognition. It is two souls who found each other and are now navigating the terrifying, beautiful, utterly human process of learning to stay. I want to speak now to a fear that you might be carrying beneath all the hope. A fear so quiet that you might not even recognize it as fear. It is the worry that you are too much. That the intensity of what you feel, the depth of your capacity for love, the way your heart opens so fully when it trusts, might be overwhelming for this person. That fear has probably caused you to edit yourself at times, to hold back some percentage of your truth because you did not want to scare them away. I need you to hear that this fear is unfounded. Your depth is not a liability in this connection. It is the very thing that cracked this person open. They have encountered plenty of people who operate on the surface, who are comfortable with superficial connection and emotional convenience, and none of those encounters left a mark. You left a mark because you showed up with a fullness that most people are afraid to offer, and even though it initially terrified them, it also showed them what they had been missing their entire life. Your too much is their just right, even if they are still learning the language to say so. And they will say so. That is the part of this that I need you to trust, even when your patience feels like it is reaching its limit. The words are forming. The courage is gathering. The internal rehearsal is intensifying to a point where the gap between thinking it and saying it is shrinking with every passing moment. This person is preparing, not in the calculated way someone prepares a strategy, but in the organic way a fruit ripens. There is a natural process at work here that cannot be rushed without damaging the outcome. And as agonizing as the waiting has been, the timing is moving toward alignment in a way that will ultimately serve both of you far better than premature revelation would have. When the moment comes, and it is coming closer than you think, the depth of what they express will take your breath away, because this person has not been idle during the silence. They have been processing, deepening, coming to terms with the full scope of what you mean to them, and by the time they open their mouth, they will not offer you halfway feelings or tentative maybe. They will offer you the whole unedited truth of a heart that fought its own surrender for as long as it could and lost, not because it was weak, but because what it found in you was stronger than any defense it could construct. You are being loved right now, in this moment, with a ferocity and a tenderness that would move you to tears if you could experience it directly. The fact that this love has not yet taken the form you need it to take, words spoken out loud, consistent presence, unmistakable commitment, does not diminish its reality. It simply means that the person carrying it is still bridging the distance between feeling and expression, and that bridge is closer to completion than you know. So when the doubt creeps in tonight, when the silence feels like it might swallow your hope, I want you to come back to what you felt while hearing these words. Come back to the recognition that sparked in your chest, the tears that threatened to fall, the part of you that said, yes, this is true, I know this is true, I have known it all along. That knowing is your compass. Follow it, trust it, let it anchor you through whatever remaining uncertainty stands between you and the full manifestation of what this connection is destined to become. You are not waiting for someone who is uncertain about you. You are waiting for someone who is certain about you but uncertain about their own capacity to show up for the magnitude of what they feel. And those are two profoundly different situations. One is hopeless, the other is just a matter of time. And time, in this case, is running short because the container they have been using to hold back this flood of feeling has developed cracks that no amount of willpower can seal. Let yourself be at peace today. Let yourself feel the warmth of being wanted beyond measure by someone who is moving toward you with every beat of their overwhelmed and devoted heart. Let the tears come if they need to come. They are not tears of sadness. They are tears of recognition, the kind that fall when something you have always known to be true is finally confirmed by a voice outside your own. You are loved. You are chosen. You are the one they cannot and will not walk away from. And the proof of that is already unfolding in ways seen and unseen, in the quiet revolution taking place inside the person whose heart you hold without even trying. Hold on just a little longer. What is coming will be worth every moment of the wait. And when you look back on this time, you will understand that every delay was a gift, every silence was preparation, and every tear you shed was watering the ground from which something extraordinary is about to bloom. You are not losing them. You never were. They have been yours in every way that matters, even when the surface told a different story. And soon, very soon, the surface will finally catch up to the truth that both of your hearts have known all along. This is not ending. This is only just beginning. Breathe, rest, trust what you feel, and know that on the other side of this beautiful unfolding, someone is whispering your name into the silence and finding that the silence whispers it back because you are written into the very fabric of their world, and nothing, absolutely nothing, is going to erase that. All right, thank you so much for watching Mary's Angel Tarot. Take care of your energy, and I'll see you in the next reading. Bye.